When it comes to Hasbro producing the Bayverse designs in Studio Series, whether they're good or bad is not the main issue that they have. The biggest problem that Hasbro has is that all of their figures get revealed like a year before they want them to be in the leak lists. And because of that, we know that we are going to get a leader class Age of Extinction Optimus Prime. And I am very glad that this is happening because I really want the Knight design in Studio Series, and the fact that it's finally happening is just great to see. And this made me think of other versions of the Knight design that are out there, and the main one is of course the leader class version of the mold. But the thing is that I never really liked that one, but it caused me to think about the Voyager class from the last Knight, which I do own. And I have to say that this figure is just fine. The design overall does capture the Knight design quite well, and it's quite good considering that he does come along with some nice colours and paints. From all of his angles, he does have some nice looking details, and I can't deny that at the time, this was a very good version of Optimus to own. The main problem we have though is that Studio Series now exists, and he is going to be compared to the Studio Series molds. And this is very much unfair because these figures came out a year before Studio Series began, but unfortunately that's just how we have things now. Although I will say I am surprised that from other angles outside of the front, he doesn't actually suffer from any sorts of gaps, which is quite weird to see because Studio Series came out and we had a big problem with gaps on the side of figures. I'm looking at you, Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. I will say that the head mold certainly exists. It's very blue, it's got a little bit of silver, and the eyes are just weird. It's like he's fully keeping his eyes open, and it's just led to this very strange look. They're just too big. The thing is that later versions of the figure do fix this issue. But the thing is that this is the one that I own, and I think a majority of people do own. So it's just how most people have experienced it, and I wish it was better. He of course comes with two accessories. He has got his sword and he's got a shield, and they are during the weird phase that Hasbro had where they were strange colours. So Optimus has a carrot for a sword, and he has this weird blue looking shield, which I don't mind actually, but it's too much blue. I'd also say that they're probably just a bit too small for my liking. I wish the sword in particular was bigger, and I think the handle itself is too big, but at least because of the handle you can have Optimus hold it with two hands. But overall, I just think they should have been bigger. For what it's worth, Optimus does have some built-in weapon storage for the sword, and I really like it. It's a molded-in scabbard for him, and unfortunately, the shield didn't get one as well. So if he's not holding the shield on his wrist, he doesn't have anywhere to put it. Moving on to the articulation though, I will say that he does have things I didn't realize he had before, mainly being that waist swivel. But ultimately, he doesn't have a lot of things that he should have, mainly being the wrist swivel and the ankle tilt. I'm going to be honest, I would have traded those two for the waist swivel any day of the week, because ultimately, Optimus's sword poses would have really improved if he had that wrist swivel. But unfortunately, he's very much stiff in what he can actually do. A lot of his joints are just restricted by the mold itself as well, and the main thing is definitely the head, because it's actually on a ball joint. But you can't get the full 360 without popping the head off, as you can see in this outtake here. But there are a decent amount of poses you can get him into. I'm going to be honest, I didn't do too well in the posing for this video, but if you really put your mind to it, you wouldn't be mad at what you can get out of him. But ultimately, he's missing too much for it to be fun. Scale wise, the only thing I really compared him to was the Last Knight Bumblebee, even though this one is the first edition one that's just a remold of the Age of Extinction one. But they do look alright together, they actually scale fairly well. I just refuse to scale him with any sort of Studio Series molds because it's not exactly fair, and that's when they change the whole dynamic. The last thing I really want to touch on for the robot mode is definitely going to be the plastic quality. Because this is just before Studio Series and Siege began, you can really tell that they upgraded their game when these new lines began, because the Last Knight figures do just feel quite cheap. And I actually am quite worried that I'm going to be breaking parts of him very soon, because in a way he just feels thin and brittle. And it's just a shame to see, because until now, this was the only version of the Knight Prime design we had that was quite good. But overall, this is definitely just a decent version of the Knight design in toy form, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the Studio Series leader can do, because this thing is very much due an upgrade. If I had to describe the transformation in one word, it would be finicky. And it's to the point where it's been years since I've even transformed him, and I had to relearn it for this video. But the thing is that it's just not fun to transform, and along with the plastic quality, it just led to a very unpleasant experience. The vehicle mode, for what it's worth though, is really good looking. This version of the truck basically has no robot kibble on it, and it's crazy to see, and it's making me wonder if the truck was designed before the robot was even conceived. It has just got a great level of design to it, and it just looks fantastic. The silver pops, the blue and the red look great together, the flames look very clear. It's just crazy to see how good this truck mode looks in comparison to the robot. The truck has got some really good weapon storage on it as well, I have to say. The shield does just go onto the back, which is a shame to see, but the sword itself has a dedicated spot on the underside of the truck, and it's a really good way to store the sword. And again, for the scaling, I will show the same Bumblebee, and they do look really nice together. It's just a shame to think that I don't really display them like this. But I have to say that this is just a really good looking vehicle mode, and I'm honestly surprised by how good this looks. And I will not be surprised if this is how I store him from this moment onwards, especially when the night design comes out and then I have a Studio Series version to actually display. But I have to say, on the overall, this is a very good figure for the time. I just think that the modern day of Studio Series has very much just shown its age, which is a shame because other Last Night figures to this day are still used in Studio Series displays, mainly being the Hound and Megatron. When it comes to the recommendation, it really is tough to say because overall, you probably should just wait and see what the Studio Series design looks like. But you could use this figure as the truck display, like I plan on doing. But that doesn't necessarily justify buying the entire figure, because the robot mode does matter. But I would say if you could find him for 25 to 30, you wouldn't be going overly wrong, but it does just come down to the person. It is very fun to look back at these pre-Studio Series figures and see how they hold up in the modern day, but unfortunately for this one, I would say that the kibble, along with the plastic quality, really does let it down. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, and that's why this is so difficult to talk about. But before I go to my smash cut of an outro, I do have a message for you, and here it is. So this is actually the first official live segment I have ever done for a video. I've never done voice while on this set, and I thought it would be necessary to show off what I have planned. And now obviously, was the subject for the video, and I haven't actually filmed him yet, so there's a fun fact for you. But with 250 subscribers, I thought I would provide some sort of tease, I guess, for what could come. And that's going to be if I ever somehow hit 500. And it's going to be a vote for the viewers. And it will go up as a community post once you see the other option. But for 500 subscribers, you have one of two options. And for the Transformers option, Menasor. So if you want him as the 500 special, let me know. But that about does it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed. And let me know what you think of this figure, and if you own it yourself, or if you want to go back and try and find it. Okay, bye!